drawn by 4 Windsor Greys. And there she is. She's seen 7 Prime Ministers come and go from Winston Churchill. Although she has no effective political power, she does have a weekly talk with the Prime Minister. Every Tuesday they meet when they can, and during sessions particularly, and they meet and they talk about the political scene, all on their own, privately at Buckingham Palace. And the Prince and Princess of Wales are with her. Duke of Edinburgh's away in Madrid with the World Wildlife Fund. It's the Princess of Wales' first public engagement since the birth of Prince Henry 7 weeks ago. As the coach turns into Whitehall, it's passing literally over the spot where Charles I was executed in 1649 for defying Parliament. Charles was the last monarch to enter the Commons chamber while it was sitting. He caused deep offence that he went on to fight a bloody civil war against Parliament, but he lost it. His subsequent trial and execution here was perhaps the most significant moment in the transfer of power from sovereign to Parliament. Queen's 32nd state opening of Parliament. She's been to every one since she succeeded in 1952, except the years when she was pregnant with Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. One year she had 2 parliaments to open in 1974, 2 elections in the same year. This whole occasion is a celebration of that curious constitutional contrast, really, between the Queen's formal responsibility as head of state under the huge archway of the Victoria Tower. The Queen has arrived for the state opening of Parliament. Princess of Wales wearing a beautiful off-white silk dress with puff sleeve trimmed with lace. And the Prince of Wales in full-dress naval uniform.
And as the Queen comes to the base of the royal staircase, she's met by the Lord Great Chamberlain and the Earl Marshal with their wands of office. And Princess and Prince of Wales go up the staircase behind her. In front of her go this great cloud of heralds, this extraordinary pack of court cards in their highly elaborate tabards, 15 heralds of them all together. The Fitzalan Pursuant Extraordinary leads them, the 2 maces of the House of Lords, because the Lord Chancellor there on the left is both the Lord Chancellor and the Speaker of the House of Lords, carrying his purse. On the right-hand side, Mr. Biffin, the leader of the House of Commons, the black rod on the right-hand side. The Lord Great Chamberlain, Lord Cholmondeley on the left, the Earl Marshal on the right, and the Queen herself coming up this staircase, the royal staircase of her royal palace at Westminster. And so she turns now through the Norman Arch, past a bust of the great Earl Chatham, and into the, well, relative privacy of the royal robing room. There, a dressing table has been set up for her to put on this great imperial...
Just look at that crown almost dancing on the Queen's head. Those wonderful glittering jewels, with the train carried by 4 pages, 18 feet long. That train is 4 foot wide. And just in front of the Queen, walking backwards out of respect for her authority, on the left, the Lord Great Chamberlain and the Earl Marshal of England. The Lord Great Chamberlain, Lord Cholmondeley, told me this morning that he keeps his eye very carefully on the Queen, Prince and Princess of Wales, and the ladies in waiting behind the Prince and Princess of Wales, the 2 ladies of the bedchamber on the left, just behind Prince Charles, and on the right, a woman of the bedchamber. She's the junior of the three ladies in waiting. And just behind Lady Susan Hussey is the gentleman with the distinguished title of Gold Stick in Waiting, carrying that sword there. And very carefully the pages guide her train over onto the left-hand side of the dais.
My lords, pray be seated.
Now the Queen will sign to the Lord Great Chamberlain to tell Black Rod to summon the Commons.
And with that sign, the Lord Great...
And now Lord Hailsham, the Lord Chancellor, carries the purse with the Queen's speech in it up the steps, give it to the Queen to read. Now, strictly speaking, he should walk backwards down the steps out of respect for Her Majesty's authority, but he's been allowed for the last couple of years to walk down forwards. It's a bit of a sweat getting down those steps backwards, and he is 77 years old. And now, the speech from the throne.
They will work continually for a greater atmosphere of trust between East and West. Following the agreement at Fontainebleau on the fairer sharing of the community's budget burden and on the overall control of community spending, my government look forward to the further development of the European community. They will continue to press for improvements in a constructive role at the United Nations, to maintain a substantial aid program, and to encourage investment in developing countries. In order to promote efficiency and growth, my government will continue their policies of exposing state-owned businesses to competition and, where appropriate, returning them to in Northern Ireland. Bills will be introduced to establish trustee bodies to manage certain Scottish institutions and to reform Scots law, including provisions on matrimony
from the present £150 to £1,000. New privatisation measures are proposed. The national bus service will be transferred to the private sector. Measures to try and curb child kidnapping will be introduced, and a bill to authorise what the Queen referred to as the interception of communications, telephone tapping, will be introduced as well. And now the Lords rise as the Queen comes down from the throne, and Viscount Whitelaw, with the cap of maintenance, passes in front of her to take his position in the procession out of the Lords, through the Royal Gallery, and so on to the roping room. Now, Chris, any surprises there in the speech?
None at all. I think it's pretty well as had been very, very heavily expected in the first place. The GLC bill is certainly going to cause a great deal of trouble, of course. We've already had immense trouble with both houses over the bill to pave the way for the abolition of the GLC. And I think that frightful part out, because of course all these bills have to get through the Houses of the Parliament in just 1 year. So that does tend to concentrate people's minds pretty closely. But I think on the whole it is what people had expected. It certainly means a very busy year, because there's going to be an immense amount of committee work which is going to go into these things. One thing which I think is perhaps a little surprising, what you've already mentioned, Peter, is this idea of being able to appeal against the leniency of sentences dished out. This, I think, rather does go against the traditions of the British law. As I understand it, you won't be able to appeal to have these lenient sentences increased, but they'll be able to appeal so that they're not established.
And so the Queen has set another political year in motion. She'll have nothing whatever to do with it, just as she had nothing whatever to do with the writing of the speech that she's just read. It's all very different these days from the time of Henry VIII, who could threaten MPs with execution if they didn't pass the laws he wanted. But she has presided over another splendid... Prince and Princess of Wales leave the Royal Gallery at the end of this state occasion.